All right, welcome to the final podcast of the year, coming to you late on a Thursday night with the champion of the league, Wes Franson. Had to give it to him. His stage. Wes, take it away.
Well, I'll just say one thing. I'm not a man of many words. I like winning. I don't know. What do you want me to say? It's fun. Enjoy it.
Do you have any?
I think the best part about winning is that Luke lost more than anybody in the league. Because when I win, he loses.
It's true. I think the last thing I said on the last pod was it's Ross's to lose, and then he just absolutely blew it.
I couldn't tell if you were doing like the all-time reverse jinx on me for the last 5 weeks and just trying to like will me to the championship, or if you just genuinely hated my team.
I mean, well, I might as well just switch the narrative on it. I for sure did not want you to win. I can promise you that. I did not want to have to deal with what we're having to do right now. Although having Ross on would have, I mean, going back through the history of the league, seeing how many times he's either been in the championship or chosen me to be the team that he plays and then dominates me in the first round of the playoffs when I finally make it to the playoffs. But how did you feel going into the matchup?
You've made the playoffs before?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, okay, I was just checking on that. I felt pretty incredible going into the matchup. I felt like I was a team of destiny. I was looking at our rosters, and it just felt like it was going to happen. There was a lot of cues on the guys, like everyone was questionable, but you know, my guys are dogs. They fought through it. They got it in them. And I mean, Mostert's gonna Mostert. Like, sure, he was good for 14 weeks, but when the going got tough, you know,
had to take a seat.
Let
A-Chain get all the carries.
Exactly. No, I mean, Ross's team was better than mine, but you know, I got hot at the right time.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy that Ross basically went back to what happened to him before the playoffs, where he was. Because before the playoffs, he was, you know, losing all those games in a row, barely getting over 90 points. Then he gets into the playoffs, is scoring well over 100 every time, and then goes right back to it. The Mostert thing was, I mean, that was a direct, like, point moving from one team to another.
Yeah, it was exponential. It wasn't like he just lost 6 points. I gained, you know.
Yeah,
it was good stuff.
And Kyler had a good game against the Eagles because the Eagles' defense is just in shambles.
Once they decided to put Matt Patricia in charge, the Eagles have gotten worse. Why? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't want to just like sit here for the next 30 minutes and really talk about how great I am. But while we're on the topic, the Kyler Murray pickup, like 3 weeks before the playoffs, prescient.
Did you not? Was he not on somebody's roster?
No, he was just on waivers.
Because he was injured for part of the year, most of the year.
I thought somebody would at least have stashed him.
Oh,
I was too busy buying Josh Dobbs height to care about any other quarterbacks.
You're a sucker for anybody who wears the purple and gold.
It's true.
Well, at one point during the season, I just decided that I'm bad and I'm just gonna lean into it. But I also dropped Jordan Love before he got good too, so I have myself
got good again.
Yeah. Nobody saw that coming. You can't blame yourself for that.
Well, I mean, the Vikings against the Packers, whoever that quarterback that they started was, I mean, Dobbs couldn't have played worse than that.
Yeah, I mean,
Dobbs was going to stop playing if he was on the Cardinals anyway. You got the movement to the Vikings and actually got a good. You had him on the bench though? The 1 week he was really good though.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. I started him when he threw 4 interceptions.
So. Tim, do you want Russell Wilson on the Vikings next year as a Vikings fan, or
It's actually insane that I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about that, and I think that's silly. No, I do not.
I would love it.
It'd be fun, yeah.
That would make me very happy to beat him twice a year.
It's Michael Penix Jr. or nobody else.
He's so good. Oh,
nope.
The lefty. Yeah. He's got a hose.
He's gonna have an off week.
He chucks
have an off week.
No, he's the one. He is the one.
Lefties aren't good. Look at Tua.
Drew Brees was a lefty.
He's also not a lefty.
Michael.
I know, but everybody always makes up excuses for Drew Brees for why he's a good quarterback, like he's short. And
James Harden.
Yeah.
James. I mean, basketball is a little bit different.
Drew Lock.
Oh, Wes, we were talking beforehand.
Noah Meyer.
Smooth release. Is one of your favorite basketball players in the NBA Josh Giddey?
You trying to cancel me? No, geez.
Did you like him before the allegations?
I don't usually find enough free time to watch Oklahoma City Thunder games, so I can't speak intelligently on the subject.
I was a fan.
Yeah.
Sounds
about white.
Hey man, I appreciate a white guy that can ball. And especially a non-European white guy.
And yet you still hate on me.
Well, I had to. Somebody had to.
When did this rivalry start? I have to ask because I'm on the outside. But when did you guys start feuding? Was it the trade?
That's a good question. What do you think, Luke? Because in my head, it was when you guys started calling my team like the convicts and saying I had a bunch of ne'er-do-wells on my team, and I took it personally.
I really needed to think of content for Weekend Update jokes, so I just decided that I was gonna make fun of your team.
I think for me, Wes is usually the only person from the league that will text me if we're playing each other and either be like, my team stinks if I'm winning against him, or will rub it in if he's beating me. So I think that's just kind of where it started. Wes is always good at like the start of the Monday night game. If you're beating him by like an amount that he's not going to get back, he'll just text you like, my team sucks anyway. And so don't feel good about winning.
You didn't achieve anything significant.
Yeah. I mean, I just beat a bad team. So, all right, great. It's not like I picked great players.
It feels like the trade though
really was because
that sparked it. And then you made us rivals for rivalry week, didn't you? Which, I couldn't have cared less about, but then it just felt like it started boiling from there.
Yeah, I don't really have a rival in the league. Really.
Idols become rivals, as they say.
Yeah. So I kind of had to make one up. Because everyone just has me and Tim play each other. And if you know anything about our relationship, we're not really rivals on anything. Like even the Packers Viking thing is just kind of a joke.
High school swimming.
Neither of us swam in high school.
Oh, darn it.
And I was a much better swimmer before high school.
Oh, snap.
It's true.
No, I don't know. The rivalry, it's good. It's good for the league. There's a lot of hatred going around.
I thought for sure
I'm gonna annihilate you next year.
That's true. Well, I don't know. I don't feel good about my chances next year. I thought for sure I won the trade, and then it just slowly having to come to the realization that I did not win the trade, even though Waller got hurt. Aaron Jones continued to be hurt, and I had Kelsey. It's just
the ultimate sell high move, I have to say.
Yeah, I think the insight for that move really came from me turning 30 in late September and just feeling how much my body was breaking down on a daily basis. And I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to keep this up much longer. If I feel like this, how does he feel?
I know. And I was looking at Adam Thielen and being like, I guess he can do it forever.
That poor guy.
How soon? I think it was like the week before that the Taylor Swift stuff had just started getting like real hot and heavy. I should have known. gosh, I can't trust that woman. I cannot trust that woman. She's ruined my life more than she realizes.
She's the reason for the teardrops on your guitar.
Yeah.
Other.
I don't listen to her. If she comes on the radio, if I'm ever listening to the radio, it's not gonna happen.
Sounds like you got some bad blood.
Oh, shoot, you beat me to
it. Here's something. So Libby's letter was interesting when he was talking about the records of
disrespectful to me.
A little bit disrespectful.
That basically his point in the letter was that only people who are in 5th or 6th place have won the league. So that makes me think that if we're doing power rankings next year, we need to not be putting the top team at the top of the power rankings, and that we should actually be finding the middle team and putting them at the top of the power rankings. And I think we need to be shifting our algorithm here.
See, I tried to do it a little bit with Tom's team because I thought Tom was going to be that team that wasn't necessarily at the top, but that once the playoffs got going, you'd just be like, well, you can't beat Christian McCaffrey on a week-to-week basis consistently. But that ended up not being the case. I mean, it's pretty crazy that no team with over 10 wins has ever gone on to win the league. Kind of shows how silly the regular season is. It's kind of like the NBA, where just be good enough and get hot. And I don't know. I think that injuries mattered a little bit. The end of the season, like teams start off hot. Like you would have thought if you just had all the Dolphins players, you would have been, a really good regular season team.
And their defense.
And their defense. And I don't think that was the case. Like the fact that A-Chain had as many points as he did while they were getting dominated by the Ravens, just absolutely blown out of the water, and he still had over 20 points. It's just ridiculous. Like that shouldn't have happened at all.
It's fair.
Do you guys think though do you want to make the regular season matter more, or do you like the randomness that it seems like it's a complete coin flip?
So I was the one that proposed give the regular season championship like something. So Libby proposed a couple of ideas. I think that at least shows something, because like the Premier League or other leagues where, even college football to a little bit, like you should want to win every single week and like draft a good team that's good during the regular season. I think everybody is pretty convinced that playoffs and fantasy football are just random. But like, I think Nathan's team from start to finish is clearly the best team in the league. Like nobody wanted to play him, and he only really lost twice, once in the playoffs, once in the regular season. And to have drafted that good of a team, made as good a roster moves as he did here and there, had such a deep team that me trading him Tyreek was like feasible for me because of the players that I was able to get. And then he still has the best team, even after having to give up like 2 or 3 assets for Tyreek. Like you got to give him something for that. And he can go ahead and have, the first pick in the Kickers defense draft and draft the Cowboys defense again. So
one of his best moves of the year.
To start the year, yeah. I mean, they weren't crazy good, but I'm sure they ended up as the number 1 defense still.
Third.
Ravens
and Browns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I agree with that too, because that draft is a crapshoot anyways, because sure, he picked the Cowboys, but they could have very well been bad. So I feel like you got to have some kind of award.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we just randomized it before anyway.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I think his other Libby's other option was letting them pick the matchups for the first week of the season, which, I mean, it's fine for me because we ended up that 1 week where we just decided, I mean, what power do we really have? I didn't earn that. I just randomly record myself for 30 minutes a week.
The power of laziness.
The power of niche fantasy football video podcasting.
Yep.
It's true.
Hey,
it's true.
somebody's got to do it.
Speaking of, we got some awards to give out.
Yes, we did bring something other to the table for this, other than just trying to get Wes to talk about how good his team was. But
pretty good.
Gets boring.
Pretty good.
I mean, what, 6-10?
Well, as you count the playoff games, I'm 9-8, above 500, baby.
That's a respectable NFL season.
It sure
Also,
is. That's the Steelers right there.
So I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot bringing up this point, but so the regular season doesn't matter for the champion, but it does matter for the loser. So the loser of the regular season gets their team name picked for them. I technically, as the playoffs shook out, lost the league. I now open my fantasy app and it says I'm the toilet bowl winner. Because obviously when you're in the loser's bracket, you just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But, I mean, technically I'm the worst team in the league. Because I lost the most games.
I'd agree with that, looking at your roster.
But also, I think if you would have tried in the playoffs to not lose, if that role was played,
I don't know, man. I don't know. It was bleak.
Anthony Richardson.
Right brain move. Right brain move. Smart thinking, just bad results. All right. Yeah, we've got awards. So we are going to give out awards. How we're going to do it is we've got a couple categories, 6 to be exact. We each brought a nomination for each one of these. We did not share nominations between each other, so we might have the same, we might not. We will quickly debate each one and then crown a winner based on group consensus. We are going to go through the player MVP, the waiver wire wonder player, and the team that obviously got that player, the most frustrating player in the league, the best draft value, the best keeper, and then a league award for the best team name. Player MVP, I think we can get this one over quickly. I would assume that at least 2 of us have the same person, same player. Wes, I don't know about you.
I wrote down 4 names, and honorable mention were Tyreek, CeeDee Lamb, who I think is sneaky because he really came on strong at the end.
Yeah.
Mostert, but then CMC finally got the vote at the end for me.
Yep. CMC. I looked through this. Tyreek was an honorable mention for me too. Jahmyr Gibbs, I was also like late season MVP. And then I realized how many of those guys I had on my team and then traded them away. And then I was like, Christian McCaffrey.
He was, I
was like, should I have the best team in the league? Maybe.
You compare against other running backs and positional value. I think that he was.
Yeah, pretty easily Christian McCaffrey.
He just didn't have bad weeks. It's crazy. Like
his worst week was his last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. He may also be coming up in this or another category. But we are going to go to waiver wire wonder. So this is who we considered to be the best waiver wire pickup, however we define that. Wes, who'd you have for your nominee?
Once again, I wrote down a lot of names. So I think Zach Moss, $0 by Ross, right after the draft was an incredible pick because he lasted him many weeks before Jonathan Taylor came back. Kyren at $21, Puka at $35, and then I gotta say A-Chain at $98. Though it wasn't a value, it was a great pickup. I don't.
So,
I've
who's your
changed my
nominee?
philosophy. The Dolphins defense.
Your nominee is the Dolphins defense.
No, I'm gonna go with Zach Moss.
All right, that's a good one. I do not have that. I have Kyren Williams for $21.
That was actually my top one too. I was going to give myself an honorable mention for Nico Collins, who I got for zero.
Oh yeah,
because
keeper,
I want to feel good about something that I did on my team. I also discovered the transaction counter in the league where you could see how many transactions each team did. And Luke, you were in the 60s, and meanwhile Nathan Rodabaugh had 15. You had it was insane to look at that.
Did Nathan have the least of anybody?
Yeah, he did not make barely, and that I think that's why
his team was pretty set. I think once he got Kyren, he was good to go.
Yeah, the set it and forget it team.
Wes, are you willing to give Kyren, or do you feel strongly about the Zach Moss for zero?
Or Achane? You can do Achane too.
I feel strongly about Achane.
Hmm.
No, fine. Kyren was the third best running back in the entire league, and he got him for $21 a fab. So that's the right.
And he missed 4 games too.
I do have to respect the spending that the dollar amount doesn't matter, but you spent $98 on Achane, which is a really risky move, and it paid off for you. So I kind of have to respect that too. That you just went for it.
I'm trying to change my philosophy on waiver wire because I used to be really conservative, and I would just constantly see myself on the offers report getting outbeat by $10 or $15, and I'm like, instead of bidding on 15 guys over the course of the year, I'm just going to choose 3 guys, and I'm just going to go over $50 on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I spent 80 on Jerome Ford.
Ooh,
wasn't bad.
No.
I still started him most of the year. And he's solid, but yeah, Kyren, Achane.
I think Kyren's the right pick for the waiver wire wonder.
Yeah. All right, Kyren Williams, congratulations. Most frustrating player. I think we're gonna have a lot of different results here. I kind of tipped my hand last week talking to Libby, who I think is the most frustrating player. I have George Pickens.
Yep, I had him too.
Really?
If you look at his, I owned him in one league, but he was feast or famine all the time. It would be 1.3 points or 30 points, and you couldn't figure out when to start him.
I've got a couple honorable mentions. I'll throw out Devontae Adams. I'll throw out Lamar Jackson for a lot of the start of the year. Because he just wasn't producing fantasy wise. Jahmyr Gibbs. But yeah, George Pickens is my nominee.
I'll also say Zay Flowers, who I also had in another league. He was a tough one to figure out when to start.
Yeah, I didn't want to pick a guy from my team,
and
just because then I have the full frustration.
I don't know if it counts, but my last name was Anthony Richardson, because what could have been.
I think
could have been a contender.
Yeah, I think it's pretty subjective. So I picked a few guys who were on my team because just guys who were constantly frustrating me. So I put Kelsey because he actually kind of had a frustrating year. I did Calvin Ridley because you kind of have to play him just because of what he could be, but he very rarely was that. And then I think honestly, the person you could name this award after, this could be the Heisman named after him, would be Kyle Pitts.
Oh yeah. Kyle Pitts.
I think it's a year late for that because you should have known going into this year.
He was the 13th ranked tight end, so good enough to start. But
I looked at Stefan's game logs or whatever, and he was pretty much consistently on Stefan's bench. So I don't know if he actually qualifies for this award. But
Pickens. We've got 2 nominees for Pickens, so I guess Pickens gets it.
Yeah. I'm good with it.
Yeah. I mean, Andy ended up basically losing Libby the right to be in the championship. Did Libby end up scoring more points than you did in the final week? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Tom, I believe, both did in the third place game.
Yeah, Libby would have beat pretty much anybody that made it to the finals.
I thought his team was honestly better than Nathan's team for most of the year, or at least it was pretty darn close. I thought Libby's team. Well, his team always has a really good bench too, which is something I look at. Where like he usually has like 3 guys that are pretty great on there.
Yeah. I just Tyreek and Kyron on Nathan's team is just a four. And then when Stroud was, dealing, having that pickup too was, that he could have been waiver wire 1 or 2. All right, best draft value. Again, we'll probably have a couple different picks here. Tim, do you want to kick us off?
Yep. Ross, Raheem Mostert.
Ooh.
I don't remember. I think it was $6.
Yep.
But despite his performance in the championship league, that dude balled for him all year long, and $6 for an RB. He was the 5th ranked for an RB1 is it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Mostert was my second pick, but my first is actually Sam Laporta at $3 for Tom.
Yeah,
that's a great one. That's a really good one. Yeah, I don't even think I can fight for my guy. I did David Montgomery for $15 because when Libby got Jahmyr Gibbs also with him, just turned into a force starting those two. And he bid up to get David Montgomery from me. So I think I'm holding a little bit of spite against him for that. And it ended up being just a fantastic pick, kind of forcing his way up to get that one. But I love Laporta at 3 now that I'm thinking about it.
I think I can get behind that one too. That was a good one.
Yeah. All right. Laporta, best draft value. Best keeper.
Were you guys surprised at how not impressive the keepers were when you look back at it?
Blown away. I thought for sure it would be, because for the entire year, and Libby's corrected me multiple times, I thought CD was Sam's keeper, but then I saw that he was actually drafted for $58. So I thought this was going to be easy. I was CD Lamb, no problem. I ended up picking a duo, but obviously for the same person. So I went with Ross, keeping Pat Mahomes and Amari Cooper for $38 total. Pat Mahomes ended up as the number 7 quarterback. Amari Cooper, 14th wide receiver. Started them pretty consistently throughout the year for $38.
That was my pick too.
I had Amon-Ra St. Brown for 27 for Libby.
Yeah, I think that was my second.
But it's hard to argue against the Ross ones. But how much of Amari Cooper's was that one game, if he's ranked that high? Because that one game was sick.
He still would have been a top 20 wide receiver, most likely. I had him in a different league. He was pretty consistently a solid. Like, he's the only guy on their offense that you would feel comfortable starting.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Good job, Ross.
All right. And an even more subjective one, the best team name. I had to give it to a late in the game. This one just tickled me, and it's because of my relationship with the person, and it's the Jahmyr Gibbs talk show, Ben Libby. If you've ever watched the skits for Barry Gibbs talk show with Libby, you would know that it's the perfect team name for him. Talk to me, brother.
I haven't seen that, but I feel like I should know.
They're very weird, but very funny.
I don't think either of you would have this, but I got to give it to Lucas's Spoonful of Maine Justice team, because I love that SNL. I don't know how many they did, but it's so funny. And every time I saw that name, it made me think of it. So they
did it basically until Sudeikis left.
Yeah, it's just really good.
I thought Lucas's was pretty good too, and I'm not a big SNL guy, so most of them went over my head. So this was actually a pretty short list for me because I was just like, oh, I don't understand 8 of these.
Yeah, I didn't understand Nathan's the entire year.
No, I know.
I liked Sloppy Joe's just because of the Joe Burrow of it all, and it was a sloppy season. I think I'm just gonna. Nobody likes the guy who toots their own horn, but when I changed my name to El Nino, it changed the whole trajectory of the season.
I was gonna give you an honorable mention for that because like your team name actually mattered. It actually gave you the spark you needed.
Storm was coming, baby.
I mean, I don't see how we can't give it to him now.
Yes, you came on the show. You talked about your team. You can win this award for best.
Everything's coming up, Wes. Let's go.
I don't think you won any of the other awards. So we got 8.
My team was 6 and 8.
Stay unbelievable year. Did you look back obviously Nathan was our power rank champion. He was definitely power ranked first the most. I think maybe we have only 4 people ranked number 1.
It was few. It was very few.
Because I ranked myself number 1 in like week 2. That was a mistake. Although that was when my team was looking up. That was before it was before the Glassmen took over, which I think is the greatest team name of all time. Just because it fits my fantasy football. I was telling a friend that I was talking to at a New Year's party who was into fantasy football, and rarely do I run into those people in the wild. And he's like, "Oh, wow, you know a lot about fantasy football." And I was like, "Would you believe it if I told you I've never won a fantasy football league that I've been in ever? And the one that I care about the most, I've never even gotten close. If anything, my team, like historically, is the worst team in the league. Like I bet you if you took the combined records, I have the worst overall record. It's either me or Kranz."
I was gonna say Kranz is probably down there. That's tough. I'm looking through our document now. You ranked yourself at the top week 2 power rankings. I think that was in the middle of our Anthony Richardson hype.
I put that in my calendar. I look back on it every once in a while. I celebrate anniversaries.
Wes was ranked 3rd. Sam was 2nd. Ross was in the middle. I mean, the rest of it.
Was that the highest that we ever ranked? Wes was 3rd.
Yeah, I actually think that it was.
Probably about where you should have ended up.
You lived down in the 6th or 7th ranking the rest of the year.
Put some respect on my name.
We had Sam Rodabaugh as our way too early power rankings number 1. I don't know if we want to do way too early power rankings for next season.
Oh, I was going to make.
How would one do that?
I was going to make Wes pick keepers for every single team in the league because I had him pick my keepers. Because
I would do that, but I don't know the math of all the Libby rules. I need him to explain it to me every year.
I have to look back at old emails and go like, "What? How does that add up?"
Do you have any idea of what you're gonna do for the theme next year?
Oh yeah.
What did anything strike me recently? Well, I was trying to decide how weird I should go with it because I feel like some of the stuff's been pretty like mainstream, like SNL, Simpsons.
The Killers is pretty weird.
I was like, what if I did guys with mustaches as the theme? I don't know. I was just brainstorming the other day. Anyway, but I don't know. I haven't really given it too much thought. We'll see. Seth thought I should do the Dan Le Batard show, but I was like, nobody listens to it.
Don't they have? Who's that girl that was with Mark Titus for a while? They did a show together. Isn't she on that show now?
Oprah Winfrey.
Yep. Also on Epstein's Island.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Okay.
With Josh Giddey.
It's it's late.
You found them outside of the island.
Podcast after dark.
Well, another island, Australia. No,
What are
Wes,
we
you should
talking
do.
about? I forget.
You should do action guys, action heroes.
Action heroes. Well, I'm definitely not going to do that because you suggested.
Alright. And if I
have
ever
to go
win
against the grain.
if I ever win the league, watch out.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
So did you guys decide the league was top heavy or not? I feel like you guys, because it is, right?
It is.
I still think that it is, but I
think
think
it is.
Every
He's
time we
still
have to
wrong.
have every time we have to have Libby on to give us like this check to our ideas that are almost always right.
Yeah.
That the same 4 teams win the championship every single year.
He
And
literally put it in one of his letters that like the last 3 Final Fours were like 3 Rosses, 3 Libbys, 3 Toms, and 2 Wesses. And I was like, oh, so it's the same 4 people every year.
Yeah, Lucas thrown in there every once in a while. But yeah, it's like me, Stefan, we're never gonna win. Tim may never win again.
I think since 2019 I've really had a falling out with fantasy football. I don't know what happened.
Sam's team will always be the sexiest, but will never win. I mean, he's the Margot Robbie. Like, she's never gonna win an Oscar, but everyone just agrees she looks the best.
Tough.
What?
You got Frances McDormand over there just raking in all the Oscars.
No.
What do you expect Margot Robbie to do?
The hell bag of bones.
Does that make me Frances McDormand? I think it does.
Wow.
This is your first championship though, right?
Like in life or in this league specifically?
Wow.
So yes to both. Yeah.
Yeah. Man. I'm gonna just keep texting you every once in a while. Just be like, how does it feel? How does it feel to be the luckiest winner of all time?
I don't know if it was luck.
I think it was.
It's like, that's subjective. You pull 100 people 50-50.
Compare.
I don't think so. I think you could pull the league.
Compare your championship to a recent Super Bowl.
Probably Joe Flacco on the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one.
Because I'm just chucking it, man. Like, there's gonna be a PI flag. Something's gonna happen. Everything's coming up West. Mostert's gonna be injured. Yeah. It's just all gonna work out in the end, you know.
Brad Johnson on Tampa Bay, just living off that defense. Just fortunately is in the position to get the Dolphins defense, who every single fantasy football podcast in the world was saying is going to be good for the next 4 weeks. And then Wes gets them and took 0 brain cells to make that decision.
Well, I mean, I had so much fab. Nobody could outbid me.
Fab for days.
I actually don't know if this is factual, so feel free to fact check me or cut this or whatever. But so in like week 12 or 13, I beat Ross by like 0.06 points. It was like the closest margin victory. I'm pretty sure if I lose that game, that I don't make the playoffs, because then I'm 5-7, or no, I'm like 5-9.
Yeah, and you didn't have a high 0.4.
I don't think I would have made. So it really came down to the Devon A-Chain caught a -1 yard pass that was worth 0.5 points, because it's the half PPR league, that won me that game with like 10 seconds left in that game.
Wow. And they say fantasy football doesn't matter. It's a game of inches, football.
So there's 3 of us. We can make a too early prediction for next year for who the champion's going to be. So I'll pick Libby. Tim. Tom.
Tom. Yep.
Wes, you can take Ross.
No, it's gonna be Seth. He's just waiting in the alleys like a puma.
Seth is always just lurking.
He's never gonna win. Seth will win. That's not true. I think I'll be the last person to ever win. I think after I win, then the league will be disbanded and everyone will quit and say that they don't have enough time for fantasy football anymore.
my prediction: 1 year from today, you're going to be having this podcast with Seth Williams, and he's going to be drinking a High Life, just grinning ear to ear.
I would love it. I would
That's
love
bold.
nothing more. I would love nothing more than to not have to talk to you again.
I'm the star of the show. Crickets.
All right. Anything else to wrap this up?
What a fun year.
Was it? Yeah, I suppose.
I think this was. I had more fun this year than previous years. I think it was a little bit closer at the bottom than just having the one team that was clearly the worst.
Crayons.
Yeah. It was nice to not have that wild card.
Nice guy though.
Oh, great dude.
Oh,
Good hang.
we can do one more projection. Who is going to be the most paid for player next draft?
I was thinking about keeping A-Chain for 108. No, I mean, it's probably going to be CMC, I'd have to imagine.
He can't do it again. I think it's Tyreek.
Or Jamar Chase, because I think Tom can't keep him any longer.
Would you pay more for Chase or Tyreek?
Chase.
Yeah. Oh.
I think I'd be projecting the age. I not
Yeah.
because I think Chase is a better player at this moment in time, but I would be projecting the age.
I think I agree.
How many dollars will Joe Flacco go for?
Yes.
$1.
He's gonna be retired.
He's gonna win the Super Bowl this year and then retire.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
I would, man, if he did it again, elite Hall of
Legend.
Fame quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know how you couldn't go in the Hall of Fame after that.
You'd have to.
How many dollars will Aaron Rodgers go for?
3.
You
Are
think
you
he'll be
talking
drafted
about the lawsuit from Jimmy Kimmel, or are you talking about?
Oh.
back to Epstein's Island?
If we were doing weekend update, that would have been in there. But I'm glad we're not. $5, no more, no less. Or yes, less, no more.
Less?
I think he's going to go for more than 5. I think he's going to have a good training camp or whatever. The Jets are going to look good and someone's going to talk themselves into it. Just letting the old man run one more year. It's like talking about Brett Favre again. It's great. I love it.
Here.
I love it.
Oh,
I'm just happy we've got our third Hall of Famer lined up, so we don't have to worry about this anymore.
they asked me if I could play. Can I play? Maybe.
I have a spicy hot take that I dropped on some people during the Viking game that Jordan Love's not a winner.
Oh,
He might be a good quarterback, but he's not a winner.
When they showed the still of Love jumping up in the air and throwing it, and then they showed that next to Brett Favre jumping up and throwing it, that was I feel like that's all that you guys needed.
But that would coincide with our third Hall of Famer in that our 2 previous Hall of Famers were also not winners because Favre only won 1 Super Bowl and Rodgers only won 1 Super Bowl. So Jordan Love could just win 1 Super Bowl, then be our quarterback for 15 more years and never take us back to a Super Bowl.
I just want everyone who listens to this podcast, all 4 of you, to know that not all Packer fans are like Luke, and I'm very thankful for the 2 Super Bowls we got with those 2 quarterbacks.
Brady, he killed me. These are the expectations that we should have had. This is where we ended up.
It must be nice.
Aaron Rodgers won as many Super Bowls as Joe Flacco. They're the same amount of good.
I'm King George and Hamilton. It must be nice. Must be nice.
Hey, you're going to get Russell Wilson. You're going to be back on top.
And
his kids are going to go to Berea, and the cycle repeats.
wow. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a wrap. We got to go.
All right. It was
All
fun
right.
here, guys. Thanks for doing that. Good job by both of you.
Football.
Football.
See ya.